It might clear up your camera, Mike.
So yeah, behind the scenes stuff here, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready for the show, we do fun things like get Mike to unblur his camera and teach Ashley what a mandolin is that doesn't have to do with musical instruments.
Yep. And we might have to do vocal warm-ups soon.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
There you
we
go.
need to do it like right as I go live so people can listen, because I think that would be important.
But did you die?
All right. Well, on that note, hello everybody. Welcome to Sidebar, where Bailey asks if you've died. So we got the full panel tonight. Lindsay is back with us from her day of curling.
Packed house.
How did curling go?
It was a lot of fun. Competitive game. Unfortunately, my team was on the losing end. But the bonus, fun fact, tradition in curling is that the winning team buys the losing team's first round of drinks after the game. So got a free Diet Coke out of the deal.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
That's nice.
And that is why everybody does curling, is for the drinks afterwards, right?
Exactly.
It's
what sportsmanship you have. What sportsmanship? Yes.
Yeah,
that's true. You know, it's funny because I was last weekend there was like a bunch of homecomings around the country, and it was like violence like everywhere. So yeah, I'm glad with curling you can like sit down and have a drink afterwards.
Yeah, meanwhile in St. Paul, we're all just hanging out at the curling club buying drinks for each other.
There you go. Well, that's great. All right, well, you'll have to share more with us later. I asked for pictures, but Lindsay said she didn't have any, so that made me sad. Because I really wanted to do at least half of this show tonight on curling. But now we're going to have to talk about serious stuff.
Darn.
We might have to talk about the rules of curling. I don't know the rules of curling. Maybe you have to talk about that sometime.
That could be pre-show tomorrow.
I think it summarizes down to sweeping and swearing, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
I agree.
Sounds about right, yeah.
That's what I thought. All right.
So if you want to become a member tonight, become a member, and you can join us for the pre-show tomorrow morning, and I will explain the rules of curling to you. Because the police blotter was really weak this week, so I don't really have anything fun from that.
All right. Well, that's okay. We'll do curling instead.
There we go.
All right. We're 2.5 minutes in. Let's get on with the show now. So what we want to talk about tonight is, you know, on Tuesday we kind of went off the rails a little bit as far as not necessarily directly court related. This topic is definitely directly court related, and that's the idea of a public defender, but kind of what we called the justice gap. So the reality is that there are some defendants who are just too quote unquote rich for a public defender, but they're too poor to go hire a lawyer on their own. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of stuck in this no man's land. So we thought tonight we would talk about that phenomenon, how it happens, why it happens, what happens to the person when they're in the no man's land. Is it right? Is it wrong? Should we just start a bunch of GoFundMes? You know, what should we do about this? And I think that's where we're going to go tonight. But just to kind of lead us off a little bit, I've thought a lot about this topic over the last couple of days, and I'm personally incredibly perplexed as to what to do. You know, we say on this show that we solve nothing. I'm kind of hoping we figure out a way to solve this today, because it doesn't seem right to me, especially if somebody is innocent. You know, they're asset rich but cash poor, for example, and maybe not even like super asset rich, but they own a home. They find themselves in trouble because they own the home. They can't get a public defender. And, you know, they've got to mortgage or liquidate the home to save themselves. But what if they're not guilty? You know, just what if they didn't do anything wrong, but through circumstance, they end up losing everything that they have? Because that can happen. And, you know, that would suck. I'm not interested in that. Should we have like law insurance or something that you subscribe to? I mean, they actually have that sort of thing with like concealed carry. You know, you can get yourself a policy. I have one that will protect you if you're in a self-defense incident. So
That's interesting. I didn't know
there
that.
are things like that. But should there be like a blanket thing for anything? There's so many directions we can go with this, but help, because I want to know what to do about it, but I don't know what to do about it. All right, Ashley, you said to start, so you start us off. What do we do?
So I have pondered the different options. There are different options you can do. So you can raise or eliminate income thresholds for public defendants, factoring in real living costs. In doing so, you can create sliding scale legal aid programs where fees are adjusted based on income. You can encourage pro bono initiatives or legal insurance, like you said, Dan, to bridge the affordability gap, invest in community legal clinics and law school partnerships offering affordability or free defense. But I think the best option would be to switch it from an asset standpoint to strictly an income standpoint. And I think that would be the best option.
Okay, so like an income threshold? Or
That
like a
is
certain percentage of your income would have to go to an attorney regardless, or what are you thinking?
No. So right now, most states, public defender eligibility is based on total assets. So your house, your car, things that you own, your assets are included in, along with any liquefying assets like your cash, what's in your bank account. But I think taking away the property and the car ownership will help people qualify for a public defender.
Okay. But let's say I make $10,000 a month. Decent income. Well, maybe not today with all the inflation, but it used to be a decent income. But I have 9,000 going out in bills before I even eat. Now what?
So that's the other standpoint. Do we want to include debt or not? And that's something I've been pondering. I think we should take an account of debt in regards to my proposed plan, just because the cost of living and the debt needs to be also included in this amount. Whatever exposable income that person has, I think that number should be used.
Disposable income. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Michael, you're usually silent straight away. Let's get you involved a little sooner today. Do you have any thoughts on what we can do about this?
Well, I'll tell you, when this topic came up, I really didn't have a solution per se, but before the show, talking to Michelle about this, we were kind of kicking around ideas, and she was said, well, the funny part about it's not really that funny, but it's just the way the system is that you may start out being able to afford an attorney, a private attorney, but eventually you're going to be poor enough probably to be able to to have a public defender. Depending on the kind of case. I mean, we all know that criminal cases, like top end criminal cases, you're talking about your murder and, top end felonies, those can go on for a long time. If you decide to take it to trial, if you decide to go all the way with it, and you may start out with a lot of assets. By the time it's over, you may be completely indigent, and that would then you'll qualify for the public defender. So it's one of those things, like, what do you do? Because do you just say, hey, listen, man, I'm already indigent because by the time I pay this guy his retainer, and by the time we go past the first and second and third pretrial conference, I'm going to be completely indigent, and then I'll have to switch lawyers, and then we'll have to start the process all over again. And I mean, what do you do there? So maybe I mean, the solution, the obvious solution, I think, the one that I think anybody would just say right off the top is the easiest solution, the Occam's razor, is just everybody should be able to, if they want, get a public defender. You know, I mean, that should just be a thing. It shouldn't be a, well, you own a house, even though you don't make any money. You're like a senior citizen, maybe. You have your Social Security. I mean, you should still get a public defender. Just because you have assets doesn't mean you shouldn't be entitled to it. I mean, you have the right to an attorney. It doesn't, you know, I guess I don't understand why we have these thresholds, and maybe it's just time to eliminate those or have them set so low that pretty much anybody can qualify.
Yeah. But then there's the cost to the public because more and more people would opt into the public defender. So
Right.
you have that. And then there's the whole angle that doesn't get talked a lot with public defenders, but you know, they're funded by the state. so they're working, ultimately they're being paid by the same team that's trying to put you in jail. So there's that.
Maybe
too.
county. Maybe they're more county though. You know, county public defender. Not that
Well,
that's
it's-
a much a distinction without a difference, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's just out of a different kitty, so to speak. But I mean, yeah. But yeah, that's the problem is Dan, you know, brought it up and said, this is one where we'd like to find a solution. This might be one where the solution is actually the hardest because while it sounds the simplest on paper, what is the answer? I mean, because we can all sit here and speculate, but you know, I don't know what I think that's probably why. And then here's the other aspect to this too is, okay, so now you're in this situation, you're in this gray area. You're in this, I'm too rich for a public defender. I'm too poor to hire my own attorney for any length of time beyond maybe representing me to get a plea deal, if that. So now I'm kind of stuck. Yeah, maybe I actually am innocent, believe it or not. I mean, there actually are defendants that are. And maybe, but I'm scared because obviously I don't have representation, and going into a criminal trial beyond a misdemeanor representing yourself is just insane.
Yeah.
So now do you just take the plea deal, even if you're like, yeah, but I know I can do this. Like, what do you do? You know, that now you're really stuck like Chuck. You know,
If you're not guilty though, don't take plea deals though. I'm against that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I would agree, except, you know, that's the money thing. Now, Michael A. Harris, different Michael, just pointed out in the chat there are programs in some jurisdictions that offer discounted attorneys to help people in that gap. So, you know, I suppose the courts can hand you the discount coupon and say, you know, redeem for 10 free hours or whatever, and that can help. But still,
I'd be curious to know the wider availability of a program like that, because I think it's a case that maybe spurred this question for us, Burnett County. I can't see that being something available among that tax base, but maybe in like a larger city, a larger area. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely
yeah.
could see that being a thing.
That's
Lindsay,
something.
Lindsay,
Go ahead.
since you brought it up, could you refresh us on that case, just so the audience is
Yeah,
brought up to
so
speed?
if everyone wasn't watching, I think it was Wednesday morning or Monday
Some
morning, one of the
earlier
other
this
days.
week.
Earlier this week, Judge Mogan's court, we saw a defendant before the court. He was trying to contact what sounded like a business partner to get business records, and there was a protection order placed by that business partner. So the only person that could approach said business partner was an attorney. This gentleman kept saying because of the failed business and everything, he was indigent, couldn't afford an attorney. Thus, in the chat, we kind of started having this, well, what do you do conversation? But he needed an attorney to speak to the co-defendant in the case, couldn't afford one, so he was kind of in a pickle to get his documents. Did I cover it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking of things that we see in courts, though, another thing that dawned on me as I was thinking about this topic is there's also so often a little bit of what I would call a dog and pony show with regards to all of this. And
Sure.
this revolves around the Monday morning fashion show that we see in Judge West's court, where we always kid and criticize about what these people are wearing.
Yeah.
But they come in there for her to check up on them and say, hey, I sent you out to talk to 3 attorneys. Have you found any? And it's always a, well, no, I didn't do it, or a no, they want too much money, or a, I'm still talking to people, or whatever. So then she gives them another 30 days. And they come back again. And then at the next 30 days, she's like, well, I want you to go talk to at least 3 more people and do all this dog and pony show again. But if you come back and at that point you tell me that you can't afford somebody, then we'll talk about your options.
Which is different than a lot of the courts we see. Because
Yeah.
I feel like that conversation happens more right away. Like, are you able to hire your own attorney, or do you need one at public expense? So, like, I feel like they knock that out, on that first appearance. Whereas Judge West's court, there is sometimes that drawn out. We see the same defendant come back 3, 4, 5 times.
Right.
Sometimes they have talked to people. Sometimes they haven't. Sometimes they have discussed a payment plan. Sometimes
I wonder if it
haven't.
has to do with the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Meaning these are like felony level. So
Right.
maybe it's far more serious. It's not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Misdemeanors.
I don't know for certain, but my impression of her court is that what's happening is these are people who on paper would not qualify for the public defender. I think they're gap people,
Right.
where
Yeah.
she's trying to get them out there to
Yeah.
find somebody that'll do the job, but ultimately it just ends up
Yeah.
bouncing back.
In a place like Houston, there's just so many that I think there's enough at different like payment levels or cost levels, or eventually as long as you're out there pounding the pavement enough, you will find somebody. Is it going to be the best? Probably not.
Yeah.
But whereas Burnett County, there's 2 guys, maybe 3 guys, or otherwise you're coming down here to find someone.
Yeah. Bailey, you've been
Well-
fairly quiet.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this matter?
I did some digging on the bar. So lawyers are encouraged, the ABA encourages attorneys to do voluntary pro bono publico service, the goal being 50 hours. It's not a requirement. It's something that is just encouraged, and it's specifically designed to help people who are indigent, people who do not have the funds to do, to hire a proper attorney. And then the other reason is a lawyer can do this or should be encouraged to do this is charitable, religious, civic, community, governmental, educational organizations in matters which are designed primarily to address the needs of persons of limited means. So, lawyers should be sticking their neck out and using their skills to help out people who might be, finding themselves in a situation where they might be in limbo, where they kind of make a little bit too much money to get a court appointed. Maybe do some Google search, make some phone calls, start knocking on doors and shaking hands. I don't know. Like if I really needed to get an attorney and I cannot afford one because perhaps I don't qualify for an appointed one. Yeah, I'm going to definitely be trying to shake hands and ask for a favor, And 50 hours is not a lot, depending on I don't know, how many cases you think you can deal with that? 50? You can handle a good 2 a year total, maybe 3, depending on the severity of the charges.
Fair. And I, in principle, agree with what you're suggesting, but that's counting on the goodwill of people in a society that at the moment isn't always known for its goodwill.
I'll do part 2 of this digging. In New York, in order to get your bar, you need to do 50 hours of pro bono work and pass the bar before you're allowed to get it. So New York tries to set the standard with their, attorneys that are going to practice in New York. to at least like I always try to make that argument with you, Dan. Like I wish I had a magic wand, and I wish all attorneys would have these big kind hearts and be out there for everybody, and everybody gets an attorney and a great attorney. But if we can just do a sliver of improvement out there, to me that matters.
Well, and it brings up the relying on the goodwill of others. Michelle brings up in the chat about the Luigi Mangione, who basically crowdfunded over $1 million for his legal fund. And, obviously he's got some high-end attorneys. He comes from a fairly, wealthy family anyway, but he was able to get some, big money going on there, maybe for different reasons, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. But it is interesting that, that's where we're at though in society. I mean, maybe, taking Luigi Mangione aside, that's where we're at, where a lot of people may have to resort to crowdfunding their defense, which is crazy because, we brought up the cost that it is to the state if everybody had a public defender, but what's the cost to the state to sending innocent people to prison? I mean, it's going to cost you more to do that. So,
Longer period.
So you could be looking at sending somebody that's not guilty to prison for 20 or 30 or 40 years because they took a plea deal. And you might say, well, why would someone ever take a plea deal if they're not guilty? And we've talked about this time and again here on TCF and off the air, on the air, whatever, that some people, when faced with, when staring down the barrel of these, these attorneys, and they've got all this evidence, and you can sit there and flap your gums and say, well, I didn't do it. But if you don't have the representation behind you, and you don't know the rules of evidence and how to conduct yourself as your own attorney in court, I mean, it can be overwhelming, and you might just say, you know what, I guess I'll just take the deal.
Yeah, I've thought about that actually myself. If something were to befall me, because we've talked about this before, it's not that hard to end up in one of these courtrooms.
Right.
A bad set of circumstances, you take the wrong turn, whatever the case may be, innocent or guilty. But if I were in one of those situations, it would be a serious calculation for me of, do I really want to bankrupt my family to not take the deal and to go to trial? Because I get what you've always said, Ashley, about don't take a plea if you're innocent, but there's more in the calculation, especially when you have a family.
I understand that, Dan. I don't like the concept of defendants being punished for owning property. I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. I don't think they should be penalized for having a house, for having a family, for having a car. I don't think so. Now, there are areas in what I'm thinking that it could be taken advantage of. And that's something else I've been thinking about too. How the rich can have multiple houses, things of that nature. And I was thinking about that too. I think what I was thinking about is excluding primary residences only, not real estate, but just primary residences and essential vehicles. If that was excluded, it would give more room for them to fit in that threshold. But that being said, that still puts a load on the public defenders. And I think we need to fund the public defenders more if that was the case. And that's easier said than done, right? We all know that, the funding for
that's
help.
one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things that's been pointed out in the chat is that
Right.
the public defender's caseload is already way too big.
Right. So they would have to be funded as well for this to happen. But yeah, that's kind of where I went with this because I can't think of any other solution except for taking a plea deal. And I don't like that idea either.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it, but I can tell you as somebody that has a family, it's in the calculation. I don't want it to be, but it would be. If it's a choice between, all right, I got to go sit for 5 to 10 or I bankrupt my family,
Yeah.
maybe I go sit for 5 to 10, as opposed to we're all out on the street.
I mean, you
It's-
might be bankrupting your family anyway. I mean, because if you're in for 5 to 10 versus if you go and take it to trial. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the problem with our legal system. We always talk about how great the system is, and in a lot of ways it is. It's the greatest system that there is out there, but the flaws do exist, and they are major flaws.
Yeah.
In the chat, it's brought up, a single misdemeanor can be 20 billable hours to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even at $300, $400 an hour, $6,000-8,000 flies out the window.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you
And then
from
a retainer and all that. Yeah.
from a divorce standpoint, in a divorce that was not overly contested, cost me thousands.
Yeah.
It adds up
All that
ridiculously
paperwork
fast.
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which, I never begrudge anybody getting their money, because I'm a capitalist. Go get your money. But that's part of the equation here too. Do you think that the lawyers are gonna just line right up to take less to do their jobs?
Well, I mean, look at how
And
expensive
that's-
law school is. I mean, you spend all that money to go to law school. You're not going to turn around and go, you know what I'm going to do, man? I mean, now there are attorneys that will do this, but some of them are already have their money, and now they're getting the clout, and some people like that. But I mean, most people aren't going to sit there and go, yeah, man, I'm $200,000 in the hole from law school, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and just be a charity case for everybody.
The provisions actually had a clause in it that basically said something to the effect of, we understand that in the course of a lawyer's career, they may have more opportunities to do this than others. So in other words, when you come right out of ASU law school with $240,000 in student loan debt,
Right.
yeah, maybe you can't be doing a whole bunch of pro bono, but hey, you get up there and, in 15 years, help out, give back.
I mean, sure, there are guys that do that, and there are people that do pro bono, but some of those are older attorneys that have, they've made their hay, and some of them, hey, there are some people that, they're part of the ACLU, or they're part of they're part of some organization, and they want to, they become advocates, and they take up these causes, and that's wonderful. That's great. And my hat's off to them. But, again, it goes back to what Dan said. Now you are relying on the goodwill of other people. And I don't know if that's a position you necessarily want to be in.
Here's another example of goodwill, so to speak, of attorneys, if such a thing exists. The concept of the contingency payment. So in other words, if we win, I take 40%, right? That would be a contingency form of payment to an attorney. So in other words, I don't have to pay an attorney.
Like in civil stuff.
Right. And so the most
Right.
common was personal injury and consumer protection cases. I would assume that would be something like an Aaron Brockovich, right? They took 40% to do the class action thing against, so there are lawyers who do stick their neck out all the time, who do personal injury, who do these difficult cases, who put in the work and the office and materials and time and filing things with the courts and all of that stuff. And they could lose with their client. And, that's their business model. That's the attorney they want to be in. And so there are attorneys that do work on a contingency.
That's an interesting standpoint, Bailey. I
we
didn't
don't
think about
see that as much in the criminal space, and I
Right.
think that's where we really run into these gray area cases. Is they're facing some kind of criminal charge rather than a civil.
Yep.
Right, because
But if those
motive,
attorneys did
Yeah.
versus
criminal,
liberty motive.
did that for
Exactly.
criminal, that would be awesome, though.
Yeah.
The hard
Would
part
it?
too is like at the end of the day,
It would solve the issue. I
it's
would
a
think.
finite service being offered, like they have skills that they're offering and they deserve to be compensated
But-
for the
They-
skills and service.
But
So
what will they get in return is the issue. If that is, what would the attorney get? Because they're not going to get money out of it,
right.
and per se, because that's what a civil lawsuit is. That person is getting money if they win
Yeah.
the case.
Well,
Exactly.
That's just it, Ashley. The contingency would have to be, if I'm able to get you a not guilty, you owe me 20 grand.
Right.
Great, but you're still gonna have to liquidate. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And this is something
For
I
being found
I
not
keep
guilty.
thinking about.
Hmm.
I keep thinking about as we have this liquid conversation. How many of some of these, indigent property owners are a situation like the hoarder man that we saw in
Yeah.
Judge Dad's
He's
court?
coming up too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
22nd.
he comes in pro bono because he's effectively indigent and doesn't have the money for an attorney, and he can't qualify because he owns the property, but he's in court because his property is hoarded and he's not cleaning it up. That is not necessarily a liquid asset right now. He can't just throw it up for sale, raise the 100 grand, and then get his attorney.
Yeah.
And
you'd have
how
to,
many
you'd have to
folks
sell
are
it for
in-
pennies on the dollar.
But
how many folks are in that case where they're looking at maybe a year's worth of clean out and then the whole getting it on the market, going through all the hoops and everything that involves selling a home. Then they have the money. There's a time piece in there that my brain keeps getting stuck on.
Well,
it's
that's
not
why I don't think the
yeah.
asset thing makes sense, Lindsay.
Exactly, and that's exactly my point.
It just doesn't. Liquidating is not as easy as
Exactly.
they're saying. Even though you own this,
Yeah.
it's not a liquid asset. You have to take the time. You have to sell it properly,
Yeah.
and people can't do that, especially when they're in prison.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I own like a $380,000 house here in Arizona and I got to hire come up with $9 grand or $8 grand for an attorney. I mean, I think I could borrow against my house.
Yeah,
And I
that came
would
up in the
expect-
chat as a home equity or a reverse
I
mortgage.
would expect a judge to be like, I understand, Bailey, you may only make this much money every month. And at the end of the month, to go to Dan's point, I make this much. And then at the end of the day, I really only have this much. But I'm living in a $380,000 house.
But you're accruing debt at that point too.
Well, what do they say? Don't do the crime. But I know we're also talking about people who may not be guilty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it
And
might
they
be
have
innocent.
They have to upend their lives financially just to defend themselves and have a fair defense. I
Yeah.
think that's a fair question to ask.
This is a messed up topic.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
a mess.
I mean-
There's not a
you know,
clean cut answer.
Yeah.
No, there's not, because I'm stuck on the whole idea of if you're innocent until proven guilty, which is how our system is built,
Right.
why do I have to fork over my hard-earned money to uphold my innocence?
I guess you don't have to. That's the bullshit answer. That's the bullshit Bailey answer.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I
Then you
don't
go
have
pro
to.
se, and then you end up the
Yeah.
punchline
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
And in the end, I'm gonna end up in prison for that choice.
Right.
And then
Which is really messed up. But the other thing that I look at this as, the capitalist side of me says, because I said it earlier, go get your money. So I don't begrudge the lawyers for making their money, and there's no way that we're ever going to get to a system where it's all just paid for you if you end up in this situation, because the flow of money won't allow it. There's no way that you're going to take this class of people, these professionals, and suddenly get their pay down to a point where the government's going to handle it, and even then it's still all on us anyways. So the only thing that comes into my mind is law insurance, which just funnels money to yet another corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And we see how well
socialist over
the
there.
medical insurance industry works as far as covering
Yeah.
services.
know.
I can't imagine a law insurance would be all
If
that.
you commit this crime, we'll cover it. If you commit this
Yeah.
crime, we won't cover it.
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, there are stuff for niche things like for
Yeah.
concealed carry,
Yeah.
and it makes sense for stuff like that because if you're involved in a self-defense incident, there's
Yeah.
gonna be court. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I can see it for nichey things like that, but just like an overall blanket thing,
It can't hold up.
it feels like the only possible answer, but it's a crappy answer.
I can get from Tucson, Arizona to Niagara Falls, New York, and go visit my stepmom, Kim, who's listening right now. She's watching. And I can get in my car and do that. Or I can get in a plane and do the exact same thing. That's the analogy I'm presenting. You have the right to a speedy trial. You have a right to compel witnesses. You have a right to question your witnesses. You have a right to all of the evidence from the state. You have all of these huge rights. I don't know if you have a right. Somebody answered that for me at the end of my little colloquy here, but I don't know if you have a right to an attorney necessarily, like a free one, like the best one ever. That's just not one of the little perks you get. So you could go with driving to Buffalo, or you can take, Elon Musk's jet at $4,000 every 5 minutes and get there and you do the same kind of thing. But I don't think you have the right to fly in Elon Musk's jet at 4,000 just because. You're going to get a public defender, or you can go to what I looked up in Tucson. I pretended like I was in trouble, and I just Googled. I said, I need a lawyer right now. And I found
Nice.
Legal Aid Society. There's a Tucson one, and they actually help focus on veterans and homeless issues, and that's good. It's specifically like if they're being evicted, that sort of thing, and they'll give free legal services. So that was a really good resource. So here in Tucson, Arizona, they have resources there. I didn't call them and interview them and get more details, but there was a lot of resources there. And then the whole pro bono thing, they can connect you. That was the other resource. They can connect you with attorneys who are trying to do the pro bono thing, who are trying to get those hours, because that helps them build their careers too in other ways and build their CV. So to Ashley's point, there's law students who may want to be building pro bono hours.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're trying to get out of law school
clout.
after L3, pass that bar. They got a bomb-ass CV. I did like 60 hours of pro bono work, and I worked at the Legal Aid Society, and I helped get this through. And that kind of, I think, apparatus is there. Now, if you live in a very rural zip code in the middle of the country,
No.
you may not have as much access to this kind of stuff. I happen to live in the second largest city, I think, in Arizona, right? Phoenix is number one, then Tucson. So I guess I'm kind of lucky in that way.
But you know what bothers me about this is that the Sixth Amendment of our Constitution, I'm kind of bringing it up to the more of a federal level, but the Sixth Amendment guarantees right to counsel. So what we're talking about, I think it's going against that Sixth Amendment in terms that I think it covers the defendants in terms. That's why I don't agree with the asset thing, because they are saying it's conditional on the income level, and most states are on like an asset level type thing. So that's where I was going in my spiel.
You answered my question. Then I'm going to let you guys talk though.
Yes. So it's income level according to the Constitution, not an asset level. So I don't know how states get away with. Maybe y'all can answer.
So you just told me the Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to an attorney. Is that what you said?
Yes,
That's
right to
quote.
counsel.
Okay. If that, I take your word for it. Okay, states can do things differently. They can navigate the Constitution in different ways, and that's the whole thing about federalism. So, for instance, let's say Texas wants to enforce immigration in a particular way. Texas is going to do that. But
Right.
let's say another state all the way to the west by the, what's it called? I think we call it the Pacific Ocean. Or it's a specific ocean
It's
over
the
that way.
Pacific Ocean. yes.
Specific. That state may do things differently. Now they are following the law, the letter of the law, but they're doing it in different ways. Like some people can get driver's licenses over here and some
Right.
can't, but they're not, so I think that's what's happening here is, yeah, you've got some states that are going to be like Judge West, I want to make sure that you're not abusing my public defender's office, who is an ally, who is an officer of this court, and I want you to go out there and try to find some attorneys. And we're going to go through this rigmarole. We're going to go through this due process, and, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, we have on this channel, we have an educational video that explains the public defender system and how it works. So if you haven't watched that, it's worth
Right.
a look. I did it a long time ago, but it kind of lays it out. But it does vary from state to state and often from county to county. Some areas they have, like you mentioned in New York, they have the requirement that you put in so many hours of pro bono work.
Yeah.
Some have a whole team, some contract out. It's completely different everywhere, but 6 guarantees you the right to an attorney. It does not guarantee you the right to a free one.
Right. I understand that.
Yeah, and you'd mentioned something. I don't recall, so we'll move on.
I
Exactly
said
what
on
you said,
on the
but-
income level, but yeah, it doesn't say anything about assets or anything like that.
Well,
Right.
it doesn't
That's
say
where I
anything
was
about
going.
income either.
Well,
Now,
I think
the-
I think you do have the right to a free attorney, sort of. I mean, because look, you have the right to vote, but we don't have poll tax, right? Or we don't have, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't, naturally, just to extrapolate that out, why wouldn't you be able to, if you're facing an accusation from the state, you should be able to have access to an attorney, and we're not supposed to have any sort of, we don't have debtor's prison. We're not supposed to be punishing people for being poor in this country. So why wouldn't you be able to get access to
Because it's
a-
a finite resource of folks working at that public defender's office. So there has to be a screening to see who truly needs this resource versus who is, it would just make their lives a lot easier.
Every
to have.
department
And
has a budget.
with regard
I'm not
to
saying
that,
that's what I believe. I'm just saying that that's kind of the current perspective in a lot of
Yeah.
places.
Right.
and with
Right.
regard to that, and we cover it in that public defender video, and I'll find the link here in a minute and put it in the chat. But the courts have ruled, the Supreme Court has ruled that you have the right to representation because that's in 6, but it's only ruled that the state has to pay for it. Number one, if it's a felony that could involve jail time, and number two, if you cannot afford it yourself. That's what the ruling has said. So now it's up to the states to define what it means to I can't afford it myself. And we
Yeah.
see variation in that all over the place too. We
Thresholds.
see some judges who will
Yeah.
just very quickly, I'll appoint you the public defender. And they don't
Right.
think twice. And others are like, no, I've got a checklist. Even Judge Fleischer, who, when we were watching him, was very pro-defendant, he still had a checklist. You had to qualify
Right.
for it. So
Right.
it's different everywhere. But
Yeah.
regardless of the differences, I'm still hung up. I continue to be hung up on the idea of innocence.
Yeah.
And the potential of losing your shirt when you didn't do anything wrong in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
It bothers me, but as the system is set right now, that's what we've got. You only get a free one if it's a felony involving jail time and you prove you can't afford one yourself. Otherwise, you're SOL.
Yeah. And that's
If it's a-
unfortunate because we're we always think of like murder cases in top end, but even like lower end, like misdemeanors where you could still be looking at a few months to up to a year in jail. I mean, that's still significant. I mean, people downplay that, a year in jail. Hey man, I wouldn't want to spend a day in jail, let alone a year.
One year in jail and your life is completely reset.
Yeah.
Because by then you've defaulted on everything that you had going on.
Yep.
Your friends and family to some certain extent have moved on with their lives and you're disconnected from it now. It doesn't mean you couldn't reconnect, but you're disconnected.
Right.
If you're employed,
And-
there's not many employers that are going to hold a position for you. Good luck
Right.
finding
Not
a
for
new
a
job
year.
if you have this. Yeah.
Maybe a
it's
few
your-
weeks, but not for a year.
Not
And then
for
good
you.
luck. Good luck getting future employment. Good luck, getting everything back together. And it could take many, many years to turn your life around, even from a year, if you ever get it turned around.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so serious, and that's why even misdemeanor cases, you need good representation.
Because if you did take out a loan or something to pay an attorney for that, like y'all said, trying to get a job, if you do jail time, it's really hard to pay back that loan that person took out too. So
Impossible.
yeah, so you lose
guess-
on every front, unfortunately.
So
Yeah,
Wahoo, SSI and other social benefits can stop while a person is incarcerated. Yes, that money goes to
Right.
the jail.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, anything you've got coming in, unless it's going to like your dependents, is
Right.
seized.
And
And I
Wahoo
have-
also raised a really really good question in the chat. It's like, if an attorney commits to defend pro bono based on, say, 50 hours, what happens when they go over that allotment? Are they obligated to continue to a resolution?
Yeah, I think they are, because
Okay.
they
Yeah.
would have to petition to withdraw, and I don't think a judge
Well,
would let them out. But it doesn't
it's
mean
interest-
they can't then sue for the remainder after the fact.
Right. I think I don't know if it was on TCF or if I was watching Judge Boyd after, but I think this point came up in her courtroom not that long ago, and there was an attorney that wanted to withdraw because the person became, they became indigent. They ran out of money,
Yeah.
and Judge Boyd said your petition to withdraw is denied. I mean, we're already in a case.
that.
We're in trial. This
Yeah.
guy's like, hey man, well, I know we're starting trial, but good luck, and
I'm
so
not getting paid anymore, so
that was not, I mean, from an optics standpoint, not a good look for that attorney.
No.
I get where he's
I bet it
coming
was
from,
no
but
good.
not a good look.
no,
And
no.
yeah,
And
I'm
if-
not paying
and if that
clients
does
after that.
If that does
Right.
happen, don't they? I mean, wouldn't they appoint a new public defender at that point, or no?
well, they can, except they're in the middle of trial. Well, that was the other thing. I think he even said something like, he tried to make it out to be like, oh, we're having we don't have a meeting of the minds, Judge. We're having a clash of issues. Yeah, the
Strategic
issues that were,
disagreements.
yeah, the issues were, I want money and he doesn't have any, and then it's like, well, hey, Judge Boyd, can you? Well, we do have public defenders in the wheel. You could always appoint. And Judge Boyd is, are you kidding? Like, we're in trial.
Oh boy.
Like,
Right. I think I remember something like this.
yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and and it was not quite as black and white as I'm laying it out, but that's pretty
Yeah.
much what it was. And Judge Boyd was like, so, and I know I've seen other cases that are somewhat similar to that. And generally speaking, the judge is going to say, no, your petition to withdraw is denied. Now, if it's before trial and they haven't, they're still
Yeah.
pre-trial, or they're, or there's, they're just getting it scheduled, then yeah, they can withdraw, and usually that'll be granted. But not when you're just like a week away or about to start trial. Can you imagine?
There was
Right?
a strange one in Simpson's court where the attorney wanted to bail out at sentencing.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh, I remember
think that's
that
the one. I
one.
remember.
And
Yeah.
Simpson was like, no. Like, and I don't know why the guy wanted to get out, but he's like,
No.
no, we're at sentencing right now.
I remember
Like,
that.
no. I
Is
He
thought
that
got
it
the
was
one
really
where he-
ill with
strange.
him.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where he cut the feed right before he was about to
Yes.
lay into him?
Yep.
Yes.
Darn it.
Yes.
That was
the
so
one.
dumb.
We don't know
was the
how
one.
it ended.
Oh,
We never
well,
figured it out because he was
I-
he laid into that because he was starting to get fired up and he turned off the
Judge Simpson got
We're all like,
mad.
"Ah, that was a good part."
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, don't make me turn this car around. All right, I'm turning the car around. I mean, that was the look he had, like, okay, I'm coming into that back seat right now.
Yep.
This is it.
Attorney gone rogue.
Maybe we don't want to see what he said. Maybe this is one time I don't know. That would have been very interesting, I guess, but
That attorney's
wow.
doing pro bono work right now
At
just to absolve
sentencing.
himself.
That's right.
Cleanse.
You're not allowed in my
man.
court anymore. Get out.
So
Bond won't continue.
this just occurred to me on the other end of it. This was a video that went up today. It was the first one we put up today, where this was Judge Wiggins' court, where you had a guy who was appointed. And I don't know the charges because either I don't recall or they didn't come up, but it sounded like it was serious, like higher level felony. And this guy was appointed to him through a law firm. He was not a public defender, but it sounds like his firm specializes in these kind of higher end felony kind of things. And the defendant threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
And ended up firing him at the end, and he's going to end up with, as the judge put it, I can't guarantee you're going to get Perry Mason again. You might end up with Barney Fife. But he takes like this great lawyer and throws him under the bus. So here you've got a situation where somebody was trying to do the right thing and make himself available. And what was the reward for it? That's the other end of the thing.
Messed up. I was like, man.
Because we've talked this evening about the idea of the goodness of a lawyer to step up and help
Pro bono,
out.
yes.
But in the same respect, then you've got situations like that. And the lawyer said, he put it on record, kind of his dissatisfaction with the whole thing. And he actually said as part of that this wasn't the first time and it won't be the last. So he's out there trying to do good things, and he's got clients that are just abusing him for it.
Right.
That's not going to make this work any better. It's not going to make more lawyers want to step up and help out those who are in need.
Well, and bringing it back to Judge Boyd, I've also seen the other way where, a defendant wanted to get rid of the attorney for, quote, ineffective counsel. And Judge Boyd said, no, this is your attorney. You're not going to get another one. This is a public defender. This is, this is someone that is qualified, and you're going to have to get together with them. And, this is who you got. I mean, if you want to hire a private attorney at this, but that's fine, but you're not getting another public defender. Again, that's one of those things too. Yeah, if you have ineffective counsel or if you don't, I mean, you're going to have to work with your attorney, because while you do have a right to counsel, people say, well, you don't have the right to a free one. You also don't have necessarily a right to a good one. You do to a point, like they do have to zealously represent you by the code of ethics and all that. But again, you don't have the right to have somebody that you agree with or that you think is great or not great or whatever. They are bound by a certain code, and beyond that, that's who you get.
That's interesting.
You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
That's interesting that you just brought up you don't necessarily have the right to a good one, because that's one of the things that we see so often too, with these people who can't qualify for the public defender and have to go hire their own, but can't necessarily afford it. We've had judges, Judge West has done it, Judge Fleischer used to do it, where they would just flat out say that these lawyers come in all price ranges, and maybe you can't afford the Ferrari, so maybe you're going to have to go get the used Dodge.
The Yaris.
Yeah.
The Yaris. The Yaris.
So now, I will say though, when Beth and I first got together, she had a Yaris, and that car it performed.
Can I pose something?
It
to my
rattled
colleagues?
at above 80 mile an hour, and you felt like you were going to die. But
That was the Chevy
But-
Nova as well.
but doggone it, that thing always ran.
Can I pose something to my colleagues?
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of assuming that the private attorney is the Mercedes, right?
Not
Automatically.
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Necessarily.
No.
Okay,
No.
I'm glad we're not because
Yeah,
one
That
of
was just the analogy we were making. Is like they're out there. There's a whole used car lot and new car lot of attorneys out there.
Yeah, because part
And
of my
everyone
research.
assumes you have the right to like that Mercedes level attorney, and maybe you do, but that's going to come
Yeah.
with a premium
I mean,
price
just-
tag.
Just because you're paying the Mercedes
Yeah.
level lease price doesn't mean you're getting better a
Yeah.
better defense. You're better counsel. You're not. You may not. And
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to pose to Dan, because Dan, you've talked in the past in your professional capacity. You've had to interview people.
All the
I
time.
bet you-
Hundreds.
You
thousands
would know how
probably.
to interview a lawyer. Whereas I think a lot of people out there, the laymen, let's say the people who are standing before Judge West, hey, have you talked to 3 different attorneys and found their different price schedules? Have you done that? They're probably only thinking, oh my God, I got to come up with like $3,500. And then they want like $400 a month after that. Like, I bet these people don't know how to interview an attorney that is going to be representing them in court.
Yeah.
No,
Just
probably not.
because they're a private attorney and they got a nice office and they
Yeah.
got the couple plaques behind them, you just think they're a doctor and you're just going to trust them and they're
Yeah.
going to take care of you. No, there's a lot of dirtbag lawyers out there. So you really got to sit down with them and say, look, what's a case that you lost and what was the consequence to your client? What was the worst case that you lost? What happened? You have to go through everything and test them. How many trials have you personally argued in front of a jury? Not your team. Will you personally be working on my case, or will your other associates be working on my case? You need to ask these questions. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm posing to you guys is we're kind of talking about it. We're getting the Cadillac of attorneys just because it's private. But you know what? There's a lot of dirtbags out there. And it's been said before by all of us, and because we know better, you might be better off with the public defender. I might be trying to lie on my forms
Yeah.
to get a public defender, not
Yeah.
because it's cheaper.
If I'm
but
ever in trouble,
because-
I want Natalie Pate in 14A on my side.
Exactly. Bingo.
She's amazing.
That's what I want. And
That's-
so
yeah.
Oh, I know
we
you
know
yes.
better.
Yeah.
Kate.
It's
Yes.
not about the money. I want the talent. And so I don't care if it, yes, obviously, if there's an attorney out there that's charging, and by the way, I'm going to bring this up on the pre-show. I got a great story for the pre-show tomorrow. An attorney, David Boys, he was known to be the most expensive attorney out there at over $2,000 an hour for his services. But I have a really great story. It has to do with Epstein, has to do with settlements, a very big bank over in Europe, and he was a really good attorney. And he happened to be the attorney for Al Gore during Bush v. Gore at the Supreme Court to settle the 2000 election. So it's a big story. But yeah, $2,000 an hour, folks. I mean, goodness me, that must be really good representation. But I can't afford $2,000.
Didn't really work out for Al Gore, though,
I can't
did
afford
it?
$2,000 every 3 months.
No, but I got to say this is working out for me because between Lindsay and Curling and Bailey and his story, I do not have to plan a pre-show tomorrow. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll just
You're
show up and
welcome.
turn it on
You
and let you
covered.
guys do your thing.
Just
then-
hit the go button, Dan, and we'll.
Then if Ellie shows up, well, I'll just bring Freya in and she'll paw at the screen and we'll have a whole. It'll be a
have a
whole
side show.
exciting pre-show.
Bring your coffee, bring your donuts. Bo, it'll be Friday night for you, so bring your cold ones, your CVs.
Oh yeah,
And-
Bo's back.
Bo is
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the
I
chat.
remember.
He snuck
Wait
in.
Bo's back
Hello,
at
Bo.
work.
Be the most exciting pre-show.
It's
Good
so
day,
good
Bo.
to see him.
Yeah.
So-
Question number 1 for an attorney. Those books behind you, sir. Have you read those? I mean, that'd be
ordered
probably
those
my
on
first
Amazon.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are those back there? Is this just decoration at this point? I mean, like.
I would go
yeah.
pull one off the shelf and see if it's
Just to make
actually a
sure
real
it's not
book.
blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Check the
I've done that
pages
in an
and see if they're
attorney's
kind of
office.
worn a little bit.
And I checked to see if it was dusty. That was the first
Hey,
thing I
this
did. I
one just
pulled it
has
off.
Betty Boop in it.
Yeah.
This one's full of money. What the heck? Pull this one, the wall opens.
Oh man, yeah. I hope my attorney is more than. I watched Matlock at a bar last night. The sound wasn't on, but I think I got the gist of it. You know, I don't want Lionel Hutz as my attorney.
Well, that's that more Yaris level attorney right there.
Yes. The Geo Metro of attorneys.
Geo Metro.
The Yugo.
That's something I hadn't thought about in a while.
The
God.
67
I had a friend
Chevy
in college
Vega.
that had a Geo Metro, and that thing was terrifying. No one wanted it
Well,
to drive.
imagine someone like me trying to fit into a Geo Metro. I'd be more likely to ride on top of it like a surfboard.
I can because I can imagine it because my tennis coach freshman year of
That's
high
right,
school,
you
he
were
was
telling me.
6'4" and he had a Yugo.
Oh God.
Oh
He
my
somehow
goodness.
wedged himself
What?
into that thing every day.
What?
It's what he could afford.
Had to unfold himself to get
You
out.
do what you have
much.
to do, dude.
His
Transformer style.
his knees were like what he used to steer, and yeah, it was. But they were kind of touching the windshield too. And
Those Eastern European or those Russian vehicles or whatever.
good times.
All right, I'm driving and I drive until the needles on backwards R.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, friends, we solved nothing. I really hoped we would today.
I was hoping that we'd come up with something. Unfortunately, this show, as has been the case with many others, has left me with more questions than answers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know either. Bailey, do you know? Final thoughts?
I mean, I think I proposed, the pro bono thing, and then if you can find a legal society in your area. If you never know, just ask. Call attorneys' offices and just ask. Like, hey, let them know. I'm in your area. I'm running into a situation. I don't know what I can do, and maybe an attorney might be in that part of his schedule where he's like, you know what, I can take on a case. I can do this. I know that's what I would be doing. What I worry about is those out there, like I said, they're like when you face legal issues, you might as well have been told that you've been fired or you're about to be laid off. It upends your life. It is stressful. It is expensive. There are consequences. You have to weigh things like what you guys were saying. Do I drag my family through this, or do I just take the plea deal? And it might go against Ashley's kind of like positionality on like, no, don't do that kind of thing. But these things are super freaking messy. You are in a dryer, one of those big dryers. You know, if you had to go to a laundromat and throw quarters in it and wait like a douchebag like everybody else because you're broke because you don't have a washer and dryer in your house. Hey, I grew up like that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
Tonight
wrong
on
with that.
Sidebar, if you go to a laundromat, you're a douchebag.
You are not a douchebag, but I got laundry right down the hallway. So Bailey Davis has to show up at some point during these.
There's
sidebars.
the plot.
Come on.
There goes Bailey.
There, you know what I mean? Come on, I had to deliver.
Art right.
6:03, here it comes. So life gets tough, but you got to face the music. And I forgot where I was going with this. But
So did we.
just bring your quarters.
See, it's
might
the
be able to
law
get
of
an
Davis,
attorney.
ladies and gentlemen.
the law of unintended learning on Sidebar. You
Right.
learn a lot of life lessons.
Lindsay, save us. Final thoughts?
Your primary residence should not be a liquidifiable asset for your protection. That said, public defenders are a finite resource, and they should be saved for folks who truly need them. And law insurance is a noble idea, but the execution, especially in our current state of this country, might not be the most sound. That's kind of where I'm
Agreed.
at.
Ashley.
I'm gonna piggyback off of Lindsay on my closing that I don't think property and vehicles should take into account in this threshold. I think that they should be removed, but that has to do with a lot about reform. And every state would have to agree to it, which would be a lot of work. So I don't know what the right thing to do is.
I one more thing to add to my point.
Yeah,
Don't go in and fight with the judge when she's trying to help you navigate your situation, because sometimes the judge can point you toward resources, but when you tick her off, she's not going to help you.
There you go. That's
Don't
also
make
good
Judge
advice.
Mogan mad. Don't make
Yes.
Judge Mogan mad.
Yes, don't make her mad. But I really don't have an answer for you. That's the only thing I really have come up with that may partially work. But at the same time, there are disadvantages on the back end. So yeah, we solve nothing. But that's what we do
That's
here.
what we do here. Michael?
Here's the solution. Number one, just be very wealthy. Number two, don't
Right.
commit crimes. 2A, don't be accused of committing crimes. And you're good. Solution. There we go. I solved it.
Why did I think of that?
Yes.
Just be wealthy, everybody. Very wealthy, too, by the
Just
way.
make more money.
Like
In
$10
fact-
million in the bank wealthy at least.
In fact, viewers, look under your seats right now. There's $10,000 waiting for you.
And
No.
this doesn't involve a photocopier,
Don't
right?
go to a laundromat.
And
Otherwise,
it's all
you'll
in
get
quarters, so you
judged.
can go to the laundromat like a
I-
stuck like Chuck, waiting at the
This
But
laundromat
don't-
doing laundry. You don't
this
want
show's
people touching your
incredible.
clothes. You're stuck like Chuck. You're not a douchebag. You're stuck like Chuck. That's
But do so without
You have
using
to
a
take your first
photocopier.
answer, Bailey, here on the show, unfortunately.
Oh, I can't correct the record.
I'm afraid not.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess in the end, for me, I don't know. that's where
You
Dan's
made
been
Dan
left
more
speechless.
confused.
I don't.
Ellie,
I
you got your
hate
tongue?
I hate the idea of somebody having to lose any portion of their hard-earned wealth, especially if they are ultimately innocent of what they're being charged for. But I don't
Yes.
know that there is a solution for it. I will say that I think as a nation we have way too many laws. I think if we got some of that BS off of the books, it would help. But I also don't see that happening because it's all of that BS on the books that funds that machine and keeps that machine moving.
Well, I mean, who writes
Agreed.
the laws? But you know,
The lawyers.
the lawyers. It's like they're going to want to take laws off the books. Oh no, we want
Exactly.
less money.
Exactly.
Right.
So there you go.
It's
Like
like,
I
the
said, we
IRS is
solved
going to
nothing.
remove rules.
Yep.
But yeah.
We solved nothing, but it sure was nice talking to all of you. So thanks again for
Yeah,
doing
likewise.
Sidebar
It was
with me on this
fun.
lovely little channel
Always
of ours.
fun.
All right. We loved it so much. Let's do it again next Tuesday. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be back live tomorrow on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. 45 minutes early for channel members. If you're not a channel member, you should fix that. It's a whopping $2.99 a month, but it'll be worth it just for tomorrow so you can listen to Lindsay tell us about curling and Bailey tell us, I thought you were going to tell us about a lawyer, but maybe it's going to be about laundromats. I don't know. We'll see where you go.
You never know on the pre-show. You gotta be a member to find
You
out.
sure don't. All right. Well, we'll see you all tomorrow, everybody. Take care. God bless.
Stay tuned.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care.